Right, welcome ladies and gentlemen to On Loose Lines. As always, prepared and ready to go for a big show. I'm nowhere near prepared and ready to go, but we've had a fair bit going on, and I definitely have the Woodlands hat on for a reason. Just trying to get my Facebook page. I've got to give myself an ad. I do have an honest excuse for everything going on today. So we do have a big show. I have got Mark Hughes is about to join me. I also have Nick Hooper's going to join me from all the way from Europe. That's what I did have to put in, and I can do that as we go along. That is fine. And Duncan McPherson will be joining me as well as that. And then we'll catch up with Mark Gurry, who has got a runner in the Great Southern Star this weekend, but also has a bit of a story with the Sunshine Stars sales. And of course that comes up Sunday week in Brisbane at the Albion Park Racing Complex, the 10th and the 11th of January. So make sure you are there for that, the second of the sales. After a very successful Tasmanian sale, we make our way to I've just got to try and get everything on the right page. Should be more organised than this, but clearly I'm not. But make our way to Brisbane, then we come back to Sydney for their sale, Bathurst, and then back here to Melbourne. So plenty of things going on here as we speak. So yep, right now the page is working and got good audio, which is good. Jeffrey Dixon, hello to you, Jeffrey. You've been quiet a bit lately. You tuned in late when I finished off last night, but it is very, very good to see you. Now I'm going to try to get the great man on if I can. We'll just see how he goes. Unfortunately, as I said, I'm not quite as organised as I should be, but yep, hopefully Hughesy will answer the phone and we should be good to go there. So.
Evening, Cobber. How are you?
Very well, Mark. Thank you very much for joining me. We are live. Not sure if you're watching or not, but as always, I'm as organised as they come. So yeah, it can't be underestimated how organised I am. Firstly, thank you very much for joining me, because I do know you are trying to have a little bit of time away, but sometimes things don't always go to plan, and unfortunately for the Woodland stud and everyone concerned, things went a little bit amiss, I suppose, earlier in the week with American Ideal.
Yeah, look, they certainly did, Paul. It's been a trying, half a dozen days. Events with him started unfolding last Friday and came to an end on early Monday evening, unfortunately, for everybody concerned. American Ideal was euthanased on Monday night at the age of 22, and it's been a trying times before that, but also obviously post his death, the last couple of days, a lot of sadness, a lot of time to reflect as well. And, simply put, all of those have been around the horse for a long time, are very, very flat and shattered at the moment.
Yeah, he was quite a unique horse, is possibly the best way to put it. His racetrack record was outstanding, and I think one of the great things that has happened, Hughesy, since his passing, has been a lot of videos posted about how good a horse he was. We probably forget, he's more noted as a stallion, but we forget actually how good a racehorse he actually was. Some of the video footage has just been outstanding, the wins that he's had.
Yeah, look, obviously since his death was announced in the wee hours of sort of, Tuesday morning our time, and in the Northern Hemisphere, the amount of coverage about his death has been quite phenomenal. The amount of love about him, the amount of great memories as well that have been formed, and, even as you say, digging deep and going back down to his racetrack performances in the States. A lot of those videos have reappeared. That's stuff that, early 2005, 2006, we actually calculated that he'd made 16 trips down under as a shuttle stallion. So probably really only second to Bettor's Delight in that regard.
Yep.
So, yeah, and look, a lot of great fond memories for everybody, a time to celebrate, also a time to be sad, but, you know, his legacy for is going to be long and very, very lasting.
No, and the amazing thing, the picture I've got up there is a picture that I took, so I don't have to worry about anyone copywriting and that. That was when he arrived this time, basically for this season, and he just arrived in such great fettle. And I even seen him day before everything sort of turned pear-shaped, and he looked after himself so well. I think that's probably the biggest thing. Hughesy, would it be fair to say that no one expected him to be unwell or sick?
No, one expected him to be unwell or unsick, and at any stage he was in, you know, from the outside looking in great health to look at. His attitude, he was still eating well and doing all the things we expected him to do. It was rather ironic that on the last day of collection was the day he fell sick. It was almost as though he knew he had to get the stud season done. Some innate little part of his mind, he had to carry on and get things done, and right up to the end, you know, he fulfilled his duty as a stallion. That's just the way he was. He was a gentleman. He was a beautiful horse. Anybody and everybody that's been around him in the last 15 years, particularly in the Southern Hemisphere and in the Northern, and I think Mark McDonald commented, who drive him in the last 24 hours, just what a beautiful horse he was.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing anyone, like as I said, I was fortunate enough to do a little bit with him, not as much as probably a lot of other people, but one of the great things about him and when you be around him and see him, I'm going to try and find the post when he arrived if I can. It might take a little bit of time. He was a dude. He had a quirky way about him, and you know, you always sort of nearly had to be a little bit reserved because you didn't want anyone thinking that they're sending their mares to a firecracker. But he had he did have that uniqueness about him. He had some unbelievable funny traits as to some of the carry on that he would do.
Yeah. Oh, look, and he was just that sort of horse. They all have their little idiosyncrasies, but at the end of the day, he was a kind animal gentleman. We used to call him the thinking woman stallion because he would actually chat to the to the teams mares in the room before he actually got on the job, so to speak. Whereas with some of the younger boys, it's all wham bam, thank you, man. But he was a bit of a thinker, you know, about those sort of things. But just a beautiful animal, and everybody that's been around him, you know, is reminiscing the last couple of days and celebrating his greatness amongst all the sadness. Stacey White posted a magnificent video on our Facebook page last night, and a shout out to Stace about that. If you can't watch that and not have a tear in your eye, then you know, I reckon I've watched it 7 or 8 times and I've cried every time, you know, and just a beautiful tribute to him. And I encourage those that haven't had a look at it to go and have a look at it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the girls watched it here at home, and yeah, they said the same thing. And things you didn't realise, you know, stallions like Bling It On, of course, being by American Ideal. It's one of the more common things that's been said to me today. You don't realise how good a stallion he was. What was it, $18 million earners, which is just phenomenal. And leaving sires, leaving mares, leaving 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, old horses, Grand Circuit horses. He ticked every box as far as the stallion went, and we religiously banged on about that, didn't we?
Yeah. Look, he, you know, in a time of, you know, where breeders have had the opportunity to go to great horses, he was one of them. But he cut his teeth, you know, against the heavyweights, the Beechers, the Art Majors, the Bettor's Delights, and he more than held his own over the journey. You know, he built a brand off, you know, C, D, and E grade mares in the Southern Hemisphere. 5 millionaires down here, 18 millionaires, as you say. There's a couple of double millionaires in there. 3 or 4 sons at stud. Going to be a great broodmare sire, if not that already. But yeah, he was a heavyweight fighter, mate, in probably the toughest heavyweight division of standardbred stallions there's been for probably forever.
Yep, absolutely. Like, he had to compete against Bettor's Delight, Art Major, and those quality horses, and he held his own well and truly.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Held his own, and the last 5 seasons he's been in Australia. He's been a revelation here as well. The Australians appreciate him in a lot more ways than perhaps the New Zealanders did. There's no doubt about that. But his last 5 years in Australia have been quite phenomenal. Opened a lot of doors for Kath McIntosh and for Lower Long Farm. And that relationship the last 5 years has been first class. And I will say Kath's care and love for him over the last 4 days before he died was unprecedented. The communication with our parties, with the North American stallion owners as well, with Brittany Farm and with Blue Chip, everybody was on the same page about him. Our understanding was for the welfare of the horse. And I'd just like to thank Kath and Renee and all her, and Renee, who was, staying holder and spent a lot of time around American Ideal for their love and care prior to his death.
No, and there's some cracking photos towards the Stallion Parade last year. Unfortunately, yep. I reckon I'm going to struggle to find this video. I'll keep trying, but it's a long way down. It's a problem when you publish too much stuff. Yep. But some of those photos with Renee have been outstanding. I say about him being a bit peculiar. When he arrived this last time, Kath and I did an interview, and because she had King of the North arrive at the same time, so sort of at their gates, but effectively we're at his gate because it is his gate and no one else's gate. And that's fair to say. And he knew, like Kath and I both joked about it in the interview, he actually knew we weren't talking about him, so he was standing there double barreling and pinging the electric fence, and he had never any intentions of kicking over that fence. He was just pinging the wire to say, oi, I'm here, don't forget me. I'm 22 years of age, but I'm still here, guys, don't forget to talk about me, sort of thing. And that's the sort of horse he was, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was that sort of horse. His personality was large. And Kath will tell you the story about when they went to pick him up a couple of seasons ago and put him on the plane back to North America. He went and stood in his shelter with his back to everybody saying, I don't want to go home. He wouldn't come over to the gate. He knew he had to catch the plane back, and he stood there literally like a little boy being in the naughty corner. He didn't want to leave. So, he had a really unique personality, and everybody that was around him absolutely adored that personality. I was talking to Tony Grayling, who, had him in for us within Woodlands in New Zealand yesterday about him. He said, wow, Mark, what a gentleman, what an absolute gentleman. And just, we're loath to compare, but in terms of temperament, we believe him and Sweet Lou are two very, very similar stallions.
Yeah, and I think, like Sweet Lou's taken all before him, and some might say he is better, but I think if Sweet Lou could get the record that American Ideal's done, everyone would be super proud of him because he's done an awesome job. Yeah, it is going to be a bit of a loss, but Woodlands, they will definitely be continuing on. I mean, we still have Better's Delight, you still have Sweet Lou down by the seaside, you've got a great book of horses, and the association with Lower Long Farms will continue as well with Laver Up, so that's not lost either. We'll sit down and dust ourselves off in the next couple of weeks and celebrate American Ideal. We're going to do some sort of memorial for him, one in Auckland and one at Lower Long in due course, and sit down and navigate all of that. Look forward to next season, the whys and the wherefores. And look, that relationship's been good and very, very strong for a long time. As I said before, it's certainly opened a lot of doors for Kath. And, stallions like him, they're very, very, very hard pressed to have a horse like him walk back through your gate. Yep, no, absolutely. We've got Oakbank Estate watching, Dennis Bice is watching. We've got plenty of people actually watching, and I think a lot of those people will be touched. We're fortunate enough. Marie and I are very fortunate. We've got a filly, and thankfully she had a bit of a scare the other day herself, but she's healthy, and there'll be plenty of people with some very high quality horses as well that would be, very happy that they bred to him this year. His book this year was enormous, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, he finished up in around about triple figures, which we exceeded expectations with. I saw he had a 40-metre two-year-old trial winner at Melton yesterday of Rob Watson's. He produced another one at Menangle today. You're going to have another seriously big two-year-old crop. His two-year-old crop from last year's roared on this year into the three-year-olds. I think he's second on the size table behind Lou at this stage. I know it's only the end of January, but a lot of those early wins are very bankable as the season rolls on. He'll, as I said before, his legacy is now and will be here for a long, long time.
No, it will be indeed. I've actually got I found it, Hughesy. Took me a while, but definitely found it. This is how he arrived this season, and you can just see him there on the pictures. He is just dead set, immaculate in condition, and he just looks a treat. And that's the sort of horse he was. He carried himself. He was 22 years young, but just carried himself so well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and that's, these great horses have a innate ability to look after themselves. We look at Betters and Major and the way they've been able to carry themselves. I was talking to someone, a horse like Rock and Roll Heaven, 17 or 18 now, they're still in the system. These horses have, the skill and the ability to look after themselves because once they were great athletes, but now they're great sires. And look, just a thank you to everybody that has reached out to us. To me personally, from all over the world, America, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, the flood of text messages and emails and phone calls from everybody in the industry. To me, and I know others in our little group have taken those phone calls as well. The love and respect for him has been quite immense the last 48 hours.
I think it's been richly deserved, Husey, and I appreciate you also coming on, because I do know that you are technically meant to be trying to get a bit of time off after a busy breeding season. We're not going to talk about the breeding season. We'll catch up with that another time. But as I said, I wanted to touch on him, the legacy that he's done, and also I think the day before I was there the other day with Kath McIntosh, I think I'm going to go Wednesday. I think he sired 7 winners on that day, and then he followed up again a week later when he sired another 8 winners, I think, on the Friday or the Saturday of that weekend as well. So it's just an amazing effort that what he's been able to achieve.
Yeah. Look, he's just a bankable commodity, mate. In terms of getting a horse to the races and winning, so he'll be well and truly missed. In that regard, there's still plenty more to follow, mate. We're expecting a pretty solid sales season for him, and his legacy, as I said, it'll carry on for quite a number of years yet.
Absolutely. With your Woodlands hat on, just quickly, the yearling sales in Karaka, 35 lots will go under the hammer for Woodlands, representing Woodlands, with all stallions represented, including American Ideal. It'd be his biggest draft sold in New Zealand for a little while too, won't it?
Yeah, look, he's got 8 in the sale of Karaka under our little banner, and a few down south as well. It'll be collectively his biggest consignment ever in the North Island. So look, we look forward to the 18th, mate. We'll, that comes around way too quick. I was just tying up my hotel accommodation in Christchurch today, actually. But yeah, look, we're looking forward to that, mate. Betters, Seaside, What the Hill, Sweet Lou, American Ideal. Lather Up's got a couple of real crackers in there that, we'll preview those on Saturday on your page. 23 colts for us, 11 fillies. Exciting draft, as I said. It's easy to say these things, but we genuinely believe this is one of our better drafts in the last decade.
No, absolutely. Go back to last Saturday, we released the fillies, and there's some exciting fillies. And Sunday, just gone. And as Mark just alluded, Saturday we will be releasing the colts. And I can tell you, make yourself a cup of coffee and put some toast on it. It'll go up first thing Saturday morning. Enjoy your breakfast, because you'll be having a long one. You'll be watching it 2 or 3 times. It's only a 20-minute video, but you'll be flicking backwards and forwards and watching it. That is for sure. So there's some crackers there, including, as you said, 6. Is there 6 American Ideal colts? I believe 2 fillies.
7 colts of his. 2 Loos, 2 Lather Ups, half a dozen Betters, and probably half a dozen Seasides off the top of my head. But yeah, the rounded figures are 23 colts. Yep,
absolutely. And of course, Woodlands is so well represented in all sales, with the Nutrien Equine sales as well coming up. There's APG on this weekend. All the sales so well and truly represented with the stallions. Small band, select band, but brand of quality. And unfortunately, one of the stars has left the stable, but definitely will not be forgotten. And just on that, Husey, too, the respect of Blue Chip. Like, I mean, they've closed his box off that he was going to be in when he got back over there. So it's an amazing, the respect the horse has right across the whole world. Like you said with Mark, I forgot his surname, McDonald, thank you. Yeah, and all of those. So, yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Hughesy, thank you. Condolences to everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone, from any person that's touched him to probably people that stood, been lucky enough like me to stand out in front of him and take photos and videos. I think condolences to everyone, because I had to spend a little bit of time with the boy to know that he was a very, very unique young horse. And so condolences to everyone involved. And thank you very much, Hughesy, for coming on.
No, good on you, Cobber. Appreciate it. Thanks to everybody again for reaching out to us about him. What a beautiful horse he was.
Yeah, absolutely, Hughesy. Thank you, and thank you, Fiona, for sparing you for a couple of minutes. So I appreciate that as well, mate. See ya.
No problem.
I cut him off a bit early, but yeah. So I do appreciate that. Hughesy was, as I said, away and a bit of time off, but unfortunately, the passing of American Ideal, who was just an absolute stunning horse, a beautiful horse to do anything with around the place, and he had such an awesome way about him. I've just got to do a couple of things here while we go, but there is plenty happening in the harness world. Of course, we've got the Hunter Cup and Great Southern Star, both happening this weekend. Apologise, I'm trying to find, there it is there. That was what I was trying to find. The daughter is in the house. Anyone wonder what the slamming of the door was? She is there, of course, down the bottom. The Nutrien Equine Sunshine Stars sale is on Sunday week at Brisbane. Make sure you pre-register, and I'll catch up with Mark Gurry very shortly in relation to that. Rightio, we are going to try an international phone call here, and don't tell me I haven't rang the bloke before on it. I think I have. This could get, there we are. Let's see if we can't get hold of Nick Hooper. Hopefully we can get him. I've got him.
G'day, Paul.
Good morning, Nick. How might you be, my friend?
Hello, Paul.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you too, so you're all good, mate. You're coming in live. You're hot off the press. You are live. Whereabouts are you, my friend?
I'm in England, and I here for a few days before heading home next week. Geez, that's a nice shirt you got me wearing on that image.
Sorry, that was a wrong button push, which I generally don't do, but unfortunately this time I did happen to do it. So I'll try and find a more appropriate shirt for you in a minute if you like.
That's all right. I'm over here visiting my son, who's living here at the moment with his girlfriend, and come over with my daughter just for a short trip. And went to Paris over the weekend and got to enjoy the Prix de Marique.
Absolutely, and I'm going to get Duncan McPherson on in a minute. He is swimming. He tells me he's swimming until 7:30, and then he'll be good to go. So I think once we get Duncan on, I'll just put my microphone on mute, and we'll be able to go there. But firstly, the actual build-up to this event, Nick, what can you describe what it's like?
The Prix de Marique I'd seen glimpses of. Many of us have had probably greater exposure to the Elite Lop and what it was about, and got to go there last year and see Just Believe. And I'd seen images of the Prix de Marique, and it looked like something similar. I didn't know a lot about it. Really did my research and just said, I've got to get there, and so organised this trip, timed it to be able to get there, and I was not disappointed. It was a hell of a day.
Can you describe? Is it comparable to anything that you know? Like, is it?
Yeah, look, it's a lot like the Elite Lop. It's for those who don't know Vincennes, I'll try and paint a word picture. Vincennes is a bit like going to Flemington. The track is absolutely enormous. It's a hell of a place. It's situated within hectares of parkland, about a 15-minute train ride out of the centre of Paris. The grandstand is enormous. It's not far short of being at Flemington, really. It's a massive grandstand. Of course, the French love their trots, which we all know. The Prix de Marique dates back to just after World War One, where the United States had helped the French significantly in World War One, and one way that the French decided to mark that was by creating this race, the Prix de Marique, and as it says, it's the race of America. It's now been going for just over 100 years, and you might say that its purpose gets a little bit lost after that time, but clearly not for the locals. It is probably their biggest race. It's a massive race day. The place is absolutely packed. I'm not sure what the actual crowd number was. Maybe Duncan can share that number with us.
35,000 is what I've been told through press releases.
That would not surprise me because it was just absolutely packed. 11 races on the day. The whole atmosphere was it just had to be seen to be believed. The racing is just incredible. Their trotters are just amazing. They are one step short of machines. You watch them go past. The way that the drivers are lauded. After about the first 3 or 4 races, they had the opening ceremony where they got all of the drivers to parade out on the track in front of oversized silks. The crowd were just absolutely loving it. People who had horses in the race were there in their colours. There was a group for one of the horses that had black and yellow colours. They were up in the stands chanting like they were at a soccer game. It was, as you walk in, they're handing out flags, American flags, Prix de Marique flags. People are waving them at various times. So the colour and the energy of the place was really quite amazing. It was very different to going to a race day in Australia where we couldn't engage in that sort of behaviour. Oh, it looks like we've got Duncan as well.
We do. I think. I'm not sure how this was going to work. This is my first time, so I apologise, Nick. I thought I'll try it and go there. Hopefully, we've got you, Dunk.
Yeah, all clear here, Paul. Thanks very much.
Now I've got an issue.
And Nick,
now I've got one issue, Nick.
Yeah,
I've got your photo for you and Duncan. I'll have to do something about that very shortly, but I'll worry about that while you guys keep talking. Duncan, Nick was just explaining about the whole day and the crowd, and I suppose I'll let you keep going, Nick, where you're saying about the people being almost tribal by the sounds of it. Would that be fair?
Well, it was. Duncan, you would see it, the way that people behave there, it's very different to at the Elite Lop and the Prix de Marique to the way that our crowds behave at the races. There was chanting from the various ownership groups, lots of colour, the flags. It's quite an amazing day, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, it's a celebration. I mean, the Prix de Marique is been going since the end of World War II, which is a celebration of the American contribution to the liberation of France. So that's where it all started, and that's why you get everything from Harley Davidsons to hot dogs. So it's all about the celebration of the American contribution to France, and hence the colour and the American flag. So it's all red, white, and blue, and that gives the theme of the day, if you like, and it's been, and as I say to Paul, and I say to you, Nick, we all have predictability. We know exactly when it is. It's the last Sunday in January every year, and yes, Nick, it's very owner orientated. They've all got their hats in their different sections. They've all got placards celebrating their horse, and as they do in Europe and up in Scandinavia, the celebration is about the driver. And my daughter, who'd been to Test, she'd been to the Elite Lop, and that was her first Prix de Marique, and she couldn't believe that the rock star status of the drivers. That was probably what blew her away the most. So incredible.
Would it be fair to say, Nick, that's sort of what blew you away as much by the sounds, the way the drivers were received? Yeah,
very much so. The trainers hardly got a mention. at the Elite Lop, trainer and driver were introduced of the Elite Lop. At Vincennes, the trainers were nowhere to be seen. It was all about the drivers and the horses as well. That's right. That's the drivers and the horses are the heroes, and there's a deep love for the horses and a rock star admiration for the drivers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Darren McCall's on there. He says one of the best days in harness racing in the world, and Darren, of course, has been in the US, so he would have been to just about every carnival in the US. So I think he's another person that stands the test of time. The race, we will talk on the race while I got you guys, because there's plenty of stuff we've got to talk to you guys about. I legally can only show 30 seconds of the footage. It doesn't do this race justice. I haven't started it yet. I'll start the race now, the last, what I would assume is a 400 metre mark, and you can see the eventual winners outside the leader. This does not do this horse any justice at all. It was just a phenomenal run. What was it like watching a favourite? And you guys, I suppose, you probably don't get to tune into the audio as much, so you're probably watching the colours. What was it like watching this horse and thinking, oh my God, will he get beat?
Nick?
It was a hell of a strong performance. The field is enormous. You can see that on the screen. He had to do some work to get to that spot outside the leader. There was no loafing in this race, as you would expect at this level. And the strength that he shows to run away from them here was just remarkable. He was about a $3 favourite. And honestly, those who backed him at $3, I reckon were laughing, because it was a hell of a run.
But it was just phenomenal. You got to go and watch it. The best place I've found to watch it, although it's not in English, was at Harness Link. They've got a European section there, and you can go straight there, and the video's there for everyone to watch, and it has the celebrations afterwards. You can also go to their YouTube pages to get it, but it is easy enough for people to find. Do you understand French, either of you two gentlemen?
Est-ce que you parlez-le français? Well, I've been over quite a few times. If you don't speak French in certain areas of France, they don't speak English back to you. So you learn pretty quick, mate. So
the phrase "Je suis un Australien, non parle français," which is I'm an Australian, I don't speak French.
Correct.
If you're in the tourist areas, they'll be sympathetic to you. Duncan's right. If you head off the beaten track, they won't. But mentioning that you're Australian is a good head start, because if they think that you're a Pom or a Yank, they definitely won't talk to you. But if you've tried a little bit of that fumbling schoolboy French that I've still got, most of them will be sympathetic to a degree, especially if you're buying something off them.
Yeah. But no, to your race, Paul, to go 55-1, sit in the breeze over that distance, and as you said, they just keep coming. So when they keep trucking 3 and 4 wide, the drivers don't really worry too much. It's about whether the horse has got the strength, and that's really what the Prix de Marique has been famous for. They just keep on rolling, and it's the survival of the fittest. And if you're the fittest, the strongest, and the best, you generally win the Prix de Marique. So it's a test of stamina, and you've got to understand the orientation and the cambers in the track. I mean, they come down the straight. They literally do come down the straight, and they hit that bottom bend, and then she's uphill. And I tell you what, if you're making your run 3 and 4 wide going uphill, you're certainly at the top of that hill when they get into that area where they do their rolling starts, if you like. You're definitely sucking fresh air at the top of the hill.
The one thing that giggled with me when you watch the video, I think it's about 600, 700 from home, when he eventually gets to the death, Clement gets to the death. Yeah. The gentleman outside of him, I think he's saying, "Oh, you're going to let me go," and he's not. But unlike here in Australia and New Zealand, very short, can I get to the death? Yes, no, there's a shake of the head or whatever. Yeah. It almost looks like they're ready to pour a cup of coffee and a cup of tea and say, can we discuss this? The way they're almost civil. They're having a dead set chat, weren't they? A dead set conversation as it was going.
Yeah, well, there's no fake given over there. I mean, it is what it is, and it's back to my earlier comment. It's the survival of the fittest, and it's an amazing race. A big field, and to 35,500 people that were on track, it was rapturous. And the celebration post-race, probably the videos stop at the celebration post-race of the horse, the driver, and the entire entourage is just mind-numbing, to be quite honest with you, and it's something that's worth savouring if anyone gets the opportunity to get across.
I will say one thing that I'm glad you gentlemen explained, because the photo that I got on there now is the American flag draped over the horse. That now I understand why. It was one of those ones I was, I suppose, curious about, and it's a celebration of history in a way, isn't it? So it's one of those unique things. It's a harness race. It's about history and remembering history, as we do with the Anzac Days and those sorts of things. It's a celebration of what was achieved, and it's just great that harness racing's a part of it.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, very much so. And the way that they present the horse, that whole of body horse rug of the flag that is on the screen now, just the horse just looks magnificent. It was the whole pomp and ceremony of the whole thing was just superb. So the presentation at the end of the race, fireworks are going off. One stage, Jean-Michel Bizarre, he got the winning champagne, spraying everyone, and I got sprayed. Standing there watching. It's a lot of fun.
It's unfortunate, Nick. You've got the video, but it wouldn't let me play it. It does that every now and then. It's technology. And then I'll go to do it tomorrow, and it'll let it play straight away. But yeah, you can see that video footage. And there, what parts can we take out of it, guys? Like, to our product back here, we're on the eve of the Great Southern Star, and it's a race we'll touch on again in a minute from both of you. But what do we take out of this race? We can't turn around. I love people who say, oh, they do this and they do that. Let's do that. We can't do that. But how do we build our races to maybe in 4, 5, 6 years' time to be able to have something that maybe not replicates that, but can be held in that same regard?
Nick, you go first.
Yeah, look, I mean, there are things that the governing bodies can learn from the way that it's run, but I'll just start with the way that the owners can get into it. Maybe it's the Australian psyche, but we're all a bit too scared to celebrate our horses too much. I love seeing all of the ownership groups, and clearly they were hangers-on, family, friends, all getting carried away. We do it a little bit, but I reckon that we can add to our own pomp and ceremony and add atmosphere around the track by borrowing some of those approaches, really celebrating our own horses that make big races. So I think that's what owners can do, is really get into it and help make the day, because that's what the people do. HRV, for example, could learn that there's a lot of things that happened on the day that is similar to what we do. There's no doubt about that. But the pomp and ceremony, they had an on-course presenter, and he was going just about the whole day, and I couldn't understand a word he was saying, but he was interviewing people, talking to people. He had charisma, he had presence, he was getting the energy up, the quality of the music, the backing music, the timing of it. The quality of the production on the day was really quite amazing. They used a right mix of rock and roll, classic music that creates the hair on the back of your neck to stand up. So there are little things like that. The quality of production on the day, Duncan, I thought was magnificent.
Yeah, and I think you've got to go back to Latrobe and Paris de Vincennes to understand what they do. So not only do they have the race, Paul, but on the Friday there's an aged sale, if you like, and believe it or not, it was a similar concept to what we had when we started the Australasian Premier Trotting Sale with the Great Southern Star. So they make a 3-day carnival out of this thing. So you've got a mixed sale on the Friday along with the expo. They've got 200 odd stalls, anything from trucks and trailers to floats to stud farms presenting product to just general horse products. So that's Friday. Saturday is a continuation of the expo along with a race meeting, and 6,500 people attended on the Saturday. And then the Sunday is totally dedicated to the main race, which is obviously the Prix de Marique. But and the last race, I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, finished about 6:40 in the evening. So they go from 11:20, 11:30 to 6:40, and it's on track entertainment. But I guess when you're putting on a 3-day expo and you combine a horse sale and you have predictability and you all know when it is in the year, and you've got people flying in from America and Italy and France and Sweden and everywhere else, everyone knows when to book their tickets. So the first thing everybody does after the last race like this year is they're checking the websites to see what they can get as far as tickets go. So we all know when it is. We also know when the Hambletonian is. We know when the Elite Lop is. I think there's what we started with the G.S.S. International drivers and the trotting sale combined, I think is something that we need to do. We need to make a carnival out of it rather than just a one-hit wonder one night at some random time that we keep moving. So I think calendar predictability is something that needs to be taken on board by all jurisdictions in the Southern Hemisphere, as they do with the New Zealand Cup.
And and that's possibly one of the things. I mean, it's one of those races I've heard people saying, "Oh, the Kiwis have got to move the New Zealand Cup." Anyone moves that, and that'll be a throwdown for sure for every harness person that understands how it works. It's about the only race now that does have that one time slot. And yeah, I get looked after enormously by the Kiwis, so people can turn around and say that's only because they pay you. It's not. We all know that it's in the second Tuesday in November. It is the week after the Melbourne Cup, and once the Melbourne Cup's after, trotting people can start thinking about the New Zealand Cup, whether they get there or they don't. And we definitely need to be able to keep and continue that sort of promotion. We can build off that race. That race could be our benchmark that people say, right, let's go backwards and forwards off that, and trying to develop, slots and races that can work.
Yeah, but I think HRV at the moment, with their review of the calendar along with HRA, I'm sure that in the background as we're speaking now that there is some changes and some restructuring going to occur to put things back maybe where things were, which is probably a good thing from a global perspective. And I've always been about globalisation and internationalisation of the product. We've got to make sure we fit in with all these other major events around the world if we want to try and attract people to come down here. So our calendar is super important from that point of view.
Yeah, and I definitely understand that, but I also know, and I know New Zealand is not Australia, and there may have been a tensioning of ties there a couple of times. But at the end of the day, we've got to grow our product, and our closest neighbour is across there that, let's try and facilitate that one race that does hold its own time slot, and grow the industry from there. I know it's not Australia. I understand that, but seriously, it's something like, it's not by the looks, I would love to say it's on the same stage as that, but it's probably the biggest race we have down here in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, and I'm not stealing Nick's time here, but I just want to say that one of the major breeders in Italy, there's two major breeders, I had the fortune of meeting both of them. They combine Australia and New Zealand. I think it's one jurisdiction. Yep. And I can definitely say that one of the leading breeders in Italy has been in contact with us while we're up there. I've got an email from him this morning. He's coming to Australia, New Zealand for 5 weeks, and I'm trying to tie him into the Australasian Grand Prix / Breed for Speed Series finals at Melton on the 24th of Feb. And so there is interest again. There is interest in our product in the Northern Hemisphere. Hats off to Greg Sugars and Jess Tubbs. A lot of people are talking about Just Believe. A lot of people are talking about Southern Hemispherical trotting. So to have the opportunity for the major Italian breeders from up round Turin to come down here in the next 5 weeks just adds credence to what the product is down here. So we've got an opportunity to build on all this and showcase that opportunity for this particular team that are coming down here. If they go away with a good message from Australia, who knows? Continued investment for the Northern Hemisphere is again a possibility.
Nick, what were you there in an official role, or were you there as a casual observer? Like, did the people know that you were there from Harness Breeders Victoria?
No, I was there as Joe Public, just taking the opportunity to combine a trip to see my son with an opportunity to go to one of the great race days in the world. I do it because, I just love it. I just love the day so much. And, yeah, we can learn, so no official capacity for me at all, just enjoying the day and seeing what we can do and trying to bring some of that messaging back through your show so that people, hopefully, and it's a little bit difficult to fully appreciate it until you go, but to basically have people thinking internationally and how we can get better.
Yeah, and sorry,
Duncan. Well, just whilst we're on that, I mean, people talk about going to Northern Hemispherical races. Whilst I was coming home, Air China, as we spoke within the last 48 hours, Air China have a $1,300 return ticket to Stockholm. That's Melbourne, Beijing, Stockholm, and you can book that if they wanted to go to the Elite Lot. And at $1,300, I've already offered that to you, Paul, as you well know, but at $1,300, it's cheaper to fly to Stockholm and back than it is to go to Perth and back. So it's something that everyone who's ever thinking about going to the Elite Lot, it's probably the most affordable Elite Lot airfare ticket I think I've seen in 15 years. So it's on the internet now. And I'm not pushing Air China. I'm just saying that there's an opportunity if someone thought they might like to try and get up there. The airfares are more than affordable.
I know Mark Hughes and I have been semi-asked to go to the English-Irish Day, and I've forgotten the VDM. It is the Vincent Delaney Memorial. I got it eventually, and we look like going to that one. That's one of those ones that we'd like to go to and then come back, because I did one interview, and I think this is the important part about our industry. I did one interview, and the feedback off that, I ended up getting an interview with Adam Matthews from Diamond Creek Stud, simply because I showed them some respect, because they buy into this, and I think we need to start getting more people on the road, more people visiting these meetings, if you like, and being a part of them and showcasing what's actually going on.
Well, I caught up with Brant Dunshow while I was up there, who is ex-HRD, who's one of the directors of British Racing. So I went and had lunch with Brant in London before I went over to Paris. I also had the privilege of sitting with all the Irish boys from the UET. And yes, the race that you're talking about, Paul, is at Wolverhampton. Unfortunately, they've only got one grass track left in Ireland, but the British have taken it on. So it's definitely alive and well. And I had the privilege of talking to a couple of the Irish boys that I met back over in Harrisburg in 2009 and 2010, their sons have been working in Australia and New Zealand. So again, the internationalisation and the connection that we have, and with you and potentially Mark Hughes going up to that race, it just further strengthens the ties that we've been building on internationally for the last 15 years.
There's something different when you go to these meetings, isn't there, Nick? We say about going out and witnessing something different. You watch it on TV or replays, it's good, but when you're actually there and you can smell it, touch it, feel it, it's something very unique.
No doubt about that. You can capture some of it off TV, and that's why we're talking about it. But to be there is next level, and look, not everyone has the time and the money, unfortunately, to be able to get to the other side of the world. But I encourage people to do so, because the more connection that we have with our harness racing cousins in the Northern Hemisphere, the better it will be, because everyone will then get a feel for it. When I come back, I'll be coming back with a greater knowledge of things, and you get excited, you get reinvigorated. You look forward to the challenges of just doing things bigger and better.
No, absolutely. A couple of little things before we get off this, and we'll talk about breeding with both of you guys while I can, if you've both got the time. You both sent me the same photo. This obviously was a bit of a hit, was it? The Moe Shandon little VW bus? You sent me photos, a pair of yours, but this one come up on both feeds.
Maybe it tells you a bit about the background of how Nick and I enjoy ourselves.
But it looked cool, and this is a tote one I gave. Is that the green building's a tote, like something? But that's what I mean. Don't just make it a race meeting and have everything stark and stagnant and exactly the same.
Yeah, look, our licensing laws in some ways are great, and in other ways they're draconian. I'd have no doubt that you couldn't do that in Australia because of them, but it's just the sort of thing that adds a little bit of colour. The green one is their PMU truck, the TAB equivalent. It's just a cute little vehicle. I know they've done similar things with the TAB, but you create something there that's just got a little bit of something different. They had those on stilts. I think might be the next shot. I'm not sure if I'm watching on delay here.
They didn't come across, Nick. I unfortunately did one boo-boo. The photos are on the phone that I'm talking to you guys on, so I can't unplug you guys and plug it back in. But the ones with the stilts, unfortunately, they didn't come across. I don't know why. So
you showed it a minute ago. It was in front of the big blow up.
Oh.
Yeah, at the village out the.
Oh, that's people on stilts. Okay, right, I can do that. So I didn't realise that. So I just assumed, right, I didn't realise that was as big as what it actually is. And you can clearly see there, they are a group of people. Wow, that's amazing.
So just those little things around the track. Yes, so they're on stilts. They were floating around the track. It adds, look, all of these things cost money and the like, but what do? They create entertainment. Everyone was entertained. The races were about half an hour apart. As soon as the horses have finished with one race, the horses are warming up for the next. One of the little things that I saw, Duncan, which was interesting, the winning driver was interviewed by a roving Paul Campbell equivalent, but in the back of a double-seater sulky with an extended microphone. And so as the winner was coming back to scale, they had this extended microphone shoved under their nose and were interviewed by your equivalent and or a Brittany Graham equivalent. It was just a little thing, slightly different, but just a nice way of doing it. We've got double-seater sulky sitting somewhere. It's another way of connecting with the crowd. They came back. The presentations had excitement. The course MC, he had a great charisma about him, Duncan, didn't he? The presentations were exciting. You couldn't take your eyes off them. I didn't understand a word of what was being said, but there was energy on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, it's about what you've said, Nick. It's about entertainment. And I mean, the fact that they come back with a double-seater sulky, the difference between here and there was that the audio that they had on track we could actually listen to in the crowd, whereas they do all the interviews here and the public can't hear anything. So the community and crowd engagement is what it's about. And if you want 35,500 people to enjoy themselves, make sure that the audio is audible. If you've got 2,000 or 3,000 people at Melton and they can't hear anything, well, they're going to be pretty bored, aren't they? So it's all about engagement, and the French and not only the French but other European jurisdictions, when they have these sorts of events, do extremely well. And that's why they get their 30, 35,000 people on a good day at these events, and that's what it's all about. And 35,000 people go away and tell everyone what a great day they had, and guess what? You've got a basis of what you can bank on for next year, and that's how they grow their product. So it's maybe it's not rocket science, but they definitely do it pretty well.
Yeah, we just got to have a little bit of an internal look, not an external look, to see what we're doing, perhaps, by the sounds the way you two gentlemen are talking. Both gone quiet.
Yeah, I mean, if you can hear me, there's so much you can learn. There's so much that I noticed on the day that's similar to what we do, and some of the things we do quite well, I saw them done a little bit better. And it's a question of, navel gaze, have a look and say, are we entertaining? Do we have an entertaining product? Have we got the right person behind the microphone keeping people entertained? Have we got the right music? Are we creating the right atmosphere? All of those things were little things that I took away, that you can take what we do well and do them really well, top notch. So it was, they sung the French national anthem. The interesting thing was they sung that after the presentation. I've been to New Zealand Cups where they obviously they sing the national anthem. They sing both versions, the English and the Maori, and the whole crowd sings both.
Yep.
brought the hair on the back of my neck to stand up. The French did it slightly different. I know we do our national anthem and get some good young singer to do it, and all credit to them. They're often very good performers, but it's like we're ticking a box rather than doing something that creates atmosphere and adds to the event.
Well, the New Zealand Cup, the other thing they do there is, his name just left me, the clerk of the course gallops flat out with the New Zealand flag up the straight.
Yeah.
So when they get to a certain part of the anthem, and it's become, again, 4 or 5 years down the track, but people go out there now to watch him, and he doesn't let them down. He's in a full stretch gallop going across the line, so they celebrate that part of it as well. And they're, like you say, Nick, they are little things, but we probably have to stop and have a look and just, you know, like I try to say, I don't ever say Campbell's comments will fix the wheel. This show won't fix the wheel. You guys aren't going to fix it, but we can contribute to it and make it maybe just start turning in a different direction instead of the way that it is just at the minute, because there's a lot of people probably frustrated with what we have got on show here. But we do have some terrific races and terrific parts on show as well. We've got to be able to maximise them, I suppose.
Yes, and we as in harness racing in Victoria and HRV do a lot of things either well or very well. We just need, in a very competitive environment, to go to the next level.
Yep.
And if you're not at the next level, you are left behind. And if you just do things well, and I know that we've only got certain budgets, we're not the AFL or the like, but you've got to get bang for your buck, do things well, entertain people.
No, absolutely. Chris Green's watching for the first time. Hello to you, Chris. So this is, well, it's a bit more structured than what these two can be from time to time, but it is actually good. We've got Jill Stockman, we've got heaps of people from New Zealand and that watching, which is one of those things I like to do. And I think the Kiwis do a lot of things very, very well. There's probably a lot of things that Kiwis look at us and say, wow, that's cool. And then you guys have been over there to Europe, the Americans. Duncan, you recently were in America, and Aldebaran Zeus, I remember watching the MGM International, the barrier draw, and I watched that and I thought, geez, that's a little bit ho-hum. So we don't do everything bad, do we? There are some things that we probably do better, but the flip side of it is we don't seem to do too many barrier draws anymore either. So there's two sides to that.
Well, we are doing a barrier draw for the G.S.S. and the mail I've got is that it's going to be in the parade ring area and it's going to be available for the public to view. And I think that's a step. I've sent a lot of photos and videos to HRV as to how they do it at the Elite Lot. And I think that we picked up on some of these ideas, and credit to HRV. And I'm sure that when they do the barrier draw for the G.S.S. after the heats, this Saturday night, that crowd engagement is going to be one of the things and one of the focal points. And as I say, credit where credit's due. And if we don't innovate, we deteriorate, and we've got to do something about it. And I'm sure that a public barrier draw for the G.S.S. will engage with the community that are there to watch it. And I think that the message that they take away will be fundamentally important to the future success of the event. So well done to HRV. And if we can continue to improve our on-track experience and the product for the people that we're trying to attract. And I know Melton Entertainment Complex are having a big push with their food trucks and their markets and all that sort of thing. If we can have some engagement, well, then we're well on the way. So I think there'll be a few different things on Saturday night that will step us in the right direction.
Dave Branch from Cambridge is watching, and they try a lot of different things. They've actually bought, Nick, I don't know if you're aware that, Duncan, you might be, but they have their own hamburger caravan, basically, like food van. And they open, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Dave might correct me, and Uber Eats, and they do a roaring trade. And I will say, because I've got to declare if it's cash for comments, I did not pay for the hamburger, but it was outstanding. Fresh, beautiful hamburger. And that's some of the things we need to do so people know those hamburgers are there. So you can go race night and have a beautiful hamburger, or you can go to, buy it for Uber Eats and sit at home and have it when you want as well. So little things like that can potentially get more people to there. They did an awesome job. Don't know if either of you guys are aware of it, but they have a, what do they call it? I'm going to be in trouble here, but it's retired for both horses. So off the track, thoroughbreds and standardbreds, and they have a competition, everything from Monty racing to dual sulky rides, show jumping, cross country, I think a few games as well. all through the day. They did that last Monday, and I think that's something we definitely should be looking at here, to get a different, I suppose, group of people, but also to showcase our horses post their racing career as to what we actually can do with them as well. I think it was awesome. From all the feedback I've seen, it was pretty amazing sort of footage. So, yeah.
Well, I was fortunate to be at Raceford Grins with Dave Branch last year, and when we took Zeus across, and I can definitely suggest that one of the best nights apart from the New Zealand Cup, the second best night I probably had in New Zealand was the race was at Grins at Cambridge, and I'm sure that Dave Branch and all his team at Cambridge will be trying to exceed what they did last year. And if anyone gets the opportunity to go over for the slot race and the Raceford Grins, I can thoroughly recommend a night of entertainment. So again, it's a takeaway, but we're definitely on the way with HRV and their thought processes this week, and hopefully everyone can continue to build on it.
Fergus Shoemaker's watching from Brecon Farms. Hello to you, Fergus, one of the great yearling handlers. He had the fun job when I was doing some video work there the other day. And Nigel Fay, Brecon Farms. They must be a quiet time all of a sudden for the boys at Brecon Farms. He just tuned in. But yeah, and it's called the Tab Trot. Duncan, we've got to make sure we do that. Dave says to me, I've got to make sure everyone's aware that it's called the Tab Trot now, not the Trot Slots. It's the Tab Trot. So looking forward to that, and it's going to be an exciting race, that's for sure.
The slot owner, I better get it right. So the Tab Trot it is.
Yep, don't get that one wrong. Both you guys, and I don't care which one is this. The interesting part that I did see with, I'm going to go with Ido de Tillard, the stallion. He's already served 100 horses. He's a 6-year-old stallion. Yep. He's already served 100 horses. Duncan, for a start for you, the different way, I suppose, of thinking we have here with our breeding and racing horses, can that work down here with some of our trotters, especially with what we're seeing at the minute? If Just Believe was a stallion, can it work down here?
Well, there's no reason why it can't. And yes, he did serve, and the French have a slightly different book approach to how they control their race book. Not control, probably factor their breeding. But, I mean, that's not uncommon in Europe. I mean, I know that several Swedish horses at Manhamster Terry, who we've got Aldebaran Parker's relationship with, they stand and race. Redley Express did that, and I'll think of the name of him in a minute, but there's other horses up there at the moment that they serve and breed and then continue to race at the same time, so it's not uncommon. Can we do it down here? That's supply and demand, Paul, and when you open a book to Europe and you get 300 or 400 bookings across the jurisdictions, the stallion owners are pretty keen to get a double return on their invested funds. So, yes, as a 5-year-old in 2023, he served in excess of 100 mares, and he's got a full book this year, obviously, and it's only going to get more in demand. Now that he won the Prix d'Amérique, his total earnings exceed €1.9 million.
It's Bold Eagle, I think, because he won an elite lop after serving horses. I think the first one he hadn't served, the second one he started serving. And then one of his sons comes back just very recently and wins it again. So it can happen. Can you see it? Can you see it being embraced here, Nick? That sort of philosophy, or is it the Australian mentality? And
well, I think I'll leave the practicalities of it to the trainers and drivers, because if you try to prepare a horse for main races through spring and summer, some horses might not cope particularly well with dual purpose, but maybe some will. I'm not an expert on that. From a policy perspective, I would encourage it, and because it ties in with the Vicbred Pure strategy of trying to give our very best sons, our best colts, an opportunity at stud. And I think that, without going too early, that some of the early indicators with the size of the books that some of these Vicbred Pure eligible stallions are getting, and then of course the Storm Inside is just one example. Quinella's the first 2-year-old race of the year. That if we can make turning our best colts into real stallions, then why wouldn't you consider, for the right horse, the opportunity to get a couple of small crops going whilst they're still racing? Because, as we all know, when the horse retires and then starts breeding, it takes you years before their first lot get to the races. So I think from a policy perspective, it's worth encouraging. Whether the practicalities work will be up to an individual horse, I suspect.
Well, Sunday already done it.
Yeah, but how do we change the mentality of it? I suppose, Duncan, is the thing like Jillaby Kung Fu. I think Bling and On, he done it. He did it quite successfully. But when people say Jillaby Kung Fu, and I think the Stallion's got every chance he could make it because he's an impeccably bred horse himself, and he was a great racehorse. But because he injured himself and then he comes back, they say, oh, that's because he's not going to make it as a sire. How do we break that barrier down, if you like, of our mentality, the Australian mentality of once a horse has gone to stud, when he comes back, it's because he won't make it?
Persistence and belief in the product. If you don't back your product, we shouldn't be doing it. So I think it just comes down to the individuals and the people that are associated with those horses to continue to push the boundaries and get acceptance, because if we don't have people prepared to try to do it, then it'll never happen. So to those that have already done it before us, all good on you, and that's exactly, but we're only doing what they've been doing up in Europe for the last 15, 20 years. So the more the better.
And because Nick Engo's done it with Sundance Courage, of course, as well, was another one I forgot.
That's right.
And I think
look, at the end of the day,
they're 2-year-olds this year. I think they could be racing this year at the same time as he is.
Yep.
Yeah. All you can do is create the environment for people to succeed in, and you know the Vic Bred Pure incentives. We hope partly do that, and that makes a difference to the way people behave. Because if people can see that their best colts have a chance of a commercial outcome, then they will be encouraged to do it.
Yep, agree.
Right, I've got you two gentlemen on, both mad trotting people. The Great Southern Star, I think, is our highlight trot event for the year. I probably have a little bit loyalties to the Aldebaran Park Murray Mile. Going forward, Duncan, we've got one other thing to discuss before I let you go after that, but we'll do this one while I'm still going on it. There is a couple of horses that possibly shouldn't be in the race. We'll leave that alone. We don't need to. They're in the race because under the rules at the minute, they're entitled to be there. Hopefully they get changed and we can go from there. But all in all, the right horses are there. There's possibly a couple of Kiwis that might have been able to come across. A horse like Majestic Trio, if he had have maybe done that run 2 weeks earlier. But the depth in our fast class racing, especially here in Victoria, when you look at some of these horses alongside each other, it is outstanding. And there's a couple of horses still missing even from here.
If Nick, I'll jump in early. I think the final will be representative of the quality of the horses that we have in the Southern Hemisphere. Not to say that they can't be upstaged by others that have already made the heats. I think it's something we need to look at as to why we don't have some Kiwis over here and why interstate horses haven't necessarily been interested in coming down for the race. I don't want to sound elitist, but if you're in New Zealand and you've got a $30,000 heat and a $300,000 final, unless you run 1, 2 or 3 in the final and or win a heat, you will not pay for your expenses. And so, unfortunately, what happens as time evolves and prize money becomes where it is, and the affordability and the cost of bringing horses, trainers, owners, and doing what we need to do to get them across. And when you understand it's $15,000 to bring a horse across from New Zealand and fly it back, unless you're in the top group, and then you add your expenses, you wouldn't get much change out of $30,000 to run the campaign. And so I think that we need to understand that it's got to be commensurate with the level of prize money if we want to attract the best horses in the Southern Hemisphere to what we think is one of the best races in the Southern Hemisphere. So unfortunately, that's probably we've fallen victim of rising cost and affordability when you look at the prize money. But the horses that are in it, I'm sure that we know we've got globally competitive horses. Just Believe, Queen Elida, Olivici.
Duncan, are you there? Whoop, Duncan just dropped out. Nick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear Duncan too.
No, I think we've got a top class field into a top class final, and hope the weather that we've got, the track will be alight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Call Me the Breeze was, I think, the horse that, like his run was phenomenal. A European horse having his first start. I had Anton on last night, and I I don't think people would give it enough credit. If that was a thoroughbred that runs second to the best horse we've got in the Southern Hemisphere like he did, people will be singing Anton's praises, because first up, 2 soft trials to run a brilliant second behind Just Believe, who I think is just outstanding. He's just taken it to another level. Is exciting as well. And yeah, I do agree with the prize money. The interesting thing, Nick, before I go to you, Duncan, just with you saying about the New Zealand horses, of course, Muscle Mountain was coming. He fibulated in the Dominion Handicap, but the Great Southern Star, Nina, said to me that that was his main aim. And of course now, with the tab slot, that is his main aim. Bolt for Brilliance has got a niggling injury that may unfortunately curb his career, I think, but he may have run his last race unless they can get him sorted. And then Oscar Bonavina, who would have added so much to it, but he's an injury-plagued horse himself, so they're happy to stay at home. Gets back to a little bit of what you said, Duncan. Because the tab slot's there in April, they say, well, if we just look after him and mind him and get him through races, there's a nice little carrot at the end of the rainbow in April for him. So it is possibly one of those things that definitely where prize money has to be looked at, because the tab slot is a $600,000 race. It will cost Mark, petrol money to get him from Auckland to there, because he'll be up there for some other races anyway. So it's probably a relevant thing, but
The booty is a little bit, Paul, on the other foot. For many years, the Kiwis have come here, and very few Aussies have gone to New Zealand because we felt we couldn't win. At the moment, I think the boot's a little bit on the other foot. Maybe it's we've got a very good balance. The Aussies are prepared to go to New Zealand and have success. New Zealand Cup victory, for example. Just Believe would, have to start just about favourite in the tab trot. Maybe I'm biased, but why would you want to spend $15,000 to come over here and race against Just Believe, who is arguably in the top 10, if not top 5 trotters in the world? It's not like they're coming over here to nick all of our cash. They would really have to be on their money. So the Just Believe factor, and Queen Elida, I loved her run last week. I hope that she's back to her best. But look, we'd all love to have some more prize money, and there's no doubt about that.
No, I do agree. And Duncan, before you, I'll correct Nick as well. There was a horse called Elderbear and Zeus that went pretty good last year at Cambridge as well. He went across there and took their money in the Group 3 race. But I will say one thing, Dunk, I can't remember the name of that race, but it's now been replaced anyway by the tab trot.
No, that's in addition. So with Dave Branch will be all over us here. So the Waikato Flying Mile is the Saturday before the tab slot, and the horses, and it's in the race conditions, the horses that nominate for the tab slot or are taken in a slot do get a preference to run the week before in the Waikato Flying Mile, which is a $75,000 race into a $600,000 race.
The depth in trotters is scary and a lot of fun, and unfortunately I won't be there, but that is okay. Gentlemen, I will let you go. Duncan McPherson, before I do, Bendigo, the 8th of February, are having their teal night. Of course, the month of February is for teal, but we want to make sure that people are aware that you can get some race names named after and the likes. This is the first of the Lynn McPherson Memorial Nights for 2024, and in a unique twist, both lots of heats will be run at Bendigo. The 15th the week after are also going to be at Bendigo.
Yeah, so there's been a bit of innovation. So both rounds of heats will be at Bendigo. It's considered as the fastest track in Victoria. The object of the race series is to raise awareness of ovarian cancer, as we know, but it's also to black type our mares, and the best place for black typing our mares with sub 2 minute times appears to be at Bendigo. Bendigo put their hand up and said they're interested in both heats. Yes, there's an all credit to Bendigo and HRV. They've got an all-female reins women's drivers race on the 8th to promote the Team Teal and obviously our female participants, which is wonderful. And then 24th of Feb is Night of the Trots, which culminates in the finals of those Breed for Speed series and the Australian Trotting Grand Prix. So, and a number of other events, and it's a 10-race event programmed for the 24th of Feb, with tickets available to Night of the Trots, which is the function that's always been held, and it's in its 15th year. And I mean, after I think we've raised nearly $4 million to raise awareness of ovarian cancer through and support ANZCOG and Women Can. And there's no doubt around Australia and New Zealand, 1st of February, eagerly look forward to, and it's tomorrow. And Teal Pants will be front and square for the next 6 weeks. And our Kiwi friends are all part of that process as well. And Frocks at the Trots is hot to trot. So we'll see how things unfold. Just the other thing for just generally for people's interest, Maori Time's due to foal this Saturday in Sweden. We hope that she drops a filly to Fourth Dimension, who's a stallion down here that probably not a lot of people know about, but he's one of the hottest properties in Europe. And then she'll be put straight back in foal on foal heat as quickly as possible initially to try and get her impregnated to Southern Hemisphere time and bring her down at, somewhere towards the back end of the year.
Who's she going back in foal to, Dunk?
Fourth Dimension or Calgary Games.
Right.
So Calgary Games is the other horse that I know has been serving and racing at the same time. I think he won 18 of his first 19 starts, and he's a pretty hot property up there as well with a full book right through Europe. So it's a choice of two at the moment, but we'll get the Fourth Dimension foal on the ground this Saturday when she's due, and we'll keep people posted from there.
And Nick, with your HBV hat on, the APG yearling sales are this Sunday at Oaklands Junction. We want to make sure people are aware and get out there and support the breeders and buy up for all the locals.
Yeah, very much so. Lovely to have APG back in the fold. So 2 great sales in Victoria with Nutrien in April. HRV have put some vouchers in. I think there's 10 $4,000 vouchers for registered owners who purchase VicRed eligible progeny. So that's a wonderful thing. Wish APG all the best with their sale. Hope that our members and all owners have a great day and that we get some really good results to kick the sales season off in Victoria.
I do indeed, and we have one of the committee people, Kath McIntosh, tuned in, and condolences, Kath, on the unfortunate loss of American Ideal, which is been tragic.
Yeah.
I will say, like, it's been, I've loved the celebration of, like, to see a horse celebrated the way he has been. I think back to what you guys said, the reason for having you guys on at the start of the night probably was to talk about the Prix de Ramique and what makes it so unique, and it's a celebration of the horse. And I know it's unfortunate because he's passed, but just the way that he's been remembered, I think we do have a very special product. We've just got to be able to market it and promote it and get the message out there of why so many people love it, and we want to get more people loving it, I suppose.
Very much so.
All right, I'll let you gentlemen go. Thank you very much. Duncan, how was the swim?
Pretty choppy, but not a drama, mate, when you're training and things are going well. So we've got at one point where we've got a community-based construction business. We're supporting the community. There's a club-to-club swim meet as part of Aspendale Life-Saving Clubs, and it's part of our community engagement through the construction business. And, I'm in training for a 1.8K ocean swim on the 10th, just before we head to Cranbourne for their cup night. So we'll see how we go.
The little brother, he did a pub to pier the other day, so he was pretty happy with himself to do that. So
good.
I'm tipping, Nick, weather's not swimming's not on your radar with the weather you're experiencing at the minute.
No, about to put the thermals on and go and brave the beautiful English winter day that is here.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you so much, Duncan. Thank you. Really appreciate having you guys on and promoting the industry and talking about it in a few different lights. So I really appreciate the time from you both. So thank you very much, guys.
Good on you. Safe travels, Nick. All the best on the way back.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. See you, Duncan.
Cheers.
There we have both Duncan and Nick Hooper joining me remotely. I've got to say a huge thank you to both gentlemen, because it very much appreciated that they gave us the time to talk about the Prix de Ramique. And if you haven't seen it, again, here's the race. Have a look at the crowd though. When this race is on, I mean, the run of this horse is amazing. Must watch it. Google it. You'll be able to watch it, the 2024 Prix de Ramique. But in a minute here, you're going to see this crowd. The racetrack looks spectacular, but you have there the red, white and blue French flags, but of course with the American part of it, which is just amazing to understand that, the history behind it, and you can see the crowd there and the celebration of harness racing. Don't know how we do it, but we've got to try to and capture that here into harness racing in Australia. Probably never be able to do it, but we've got to try and build it in a different way. Rightio, I have one more guest to come on tonight's show, but there is plenty of other stuff happening. Don't forget, if you've got a 2-year-old ready to race on the 19th of February, not that far away at Newcastle, the Tommy Ray Sapling Memorial, kindly donated a race in honour of Darren Ray's father. Will be there. Proud sponsors of Medowie Lodge, which is Darren Ray, Nutrien Equine, Skyfall Estate, Alabar Australia, Harness Breeders New South Wales, Woodland Stud and Empire Stands, all getting behind it with some prizes and that on the night. It's a $20,000 final to be held on the 1st of March. So please make sure that if you've got a 2-year-old, you're aware of that on the 19th of February. And as Duncan said there before, interesting part about this, this is the Kiwi girls down there on the bottom, but Sam Ottery, Olivia Thornley, and I'm not sure the other 2 girls, but yeah, they the Kiwi girls. Who cares? It's Australia and New Zealand, and everyone's getting behind it. That's a dual code meeting that night as well, so make sure you get there. Fergus Shoemaker, unfortunately, I will not be at the Grins, unfortunately, because it's the same weekend as the Nutrien Equine sale. Let's see if we can get hold of Mark Gurry. Hopefully I can get Mark on the phone. He is a very business man, but yeah. I got someone. Mark Gurry, are you there, my friend?
Yes, I am.
Well, welcome to Campbell's Comments, mate. A little bit later than expected, but I don't like cutting Nick and Duncan short.
No, that's fair enough.
Especially they were both very, very good to me just then. So I really appreciate you coming on. Firstly, welcome. And I also, we've discussed this just before. I appreciate the comments and the sharing that every person that get involved with my show do, and especially yourself, Mark. You quite regularly get involved, either when the show's alive or even afterwards. You'll actually put some comments in and answer some of the parts. So I do really appreciate that part.
Pleasure. Yeah. I suppose I'm passionate about the industry and just add my 2 bobs worth, and as representing the owners and yeah, I love your show and it's awesome.
I want to get
having the ability to be able to do that,
well, I try. It doesn't always work. Let's talk taxing time with Mark. That's from Alex Hurley. I think she's been a bit cheeky there.
No, he's a great horse. Taxiing Times is a really good horse, and he won in town, driven by Alexandra's husband, and it was a huge win for us. He won at 50-1. So, yeah.
How long have you been in the game for, Mark?
Probably 40 years or something like that. So you can probably tell the age, but yeah, from back in the showgrounds days, used to go to the showgrounds more as a spectator. My father had a farm at Ararat, and we used to have trotters adjusted there sometimes. Yeah, he had my father was very interested, but didn't actually own any horses, but he knew trainers and the drivers. And we'd go to the Ararat trots, when it was freezing cold, and stand next to the burners and have to try and stay warm. But yeah, so probably 40 years, which is a hell of a long time. But so since I was a young kid, basically.
As long as I can remember going to Mildura and for the Mildura Cup Carnival, and it's a carnival I love and have been a part of for a long time. The Mark Gurry and Associates have always been one of the races. You were the second race quite often, and the fields you were able to get, I forget what they called it. Was it a provincial pace or something like that? It was my early memories of it anyway. I gather that's the same Mark Gurry I'm talking to.
That's right. Yeah. So originally it was sponsored by CUB, and then CUB stopped sponsoring, and so they called the Mark Gurry and Associates Pace, which is my company's name. So yeah, we sponsored it for over 15 years. So I really love Mildura as a track. You're talking about horses in the Great Southern Star, and maybe they shouldn't be there and that sort of stuff. It's amazing how with the Mildura Cup heats, there's some of the sort of battlers you wouldn't think would have a chance were suddenly making the finals. I suppose I'm really supportive of horses like that, and the same with multiple heats in the Inter-Dominion in Victoria as well. That was really good to see those horses that wouldn't usually get a start, and some of them perform really well. I know Jody, the horse Jody drove won a race, won one of the heats, and that horse would have been sort of borderline getting a start in the Dominion under normal circumstances. But anyway, that's
No. Just before I get off Mildura, though, the one thing I will say, you say about the heats, it was one of the quite unique parts that Tuesday night where there were 2 heats for the Cup, 2 heats for the Mark Gurry and Associates. There was another race that had 2 heats, and then there was 2 heats for the 3-year-old guineas from memory.
Yes,
it was one of the most brilliant nights of racing, if you like, I reckon, because as you said, it's so cutthroat to get into so many of those races, wasn't it?
That's right. That's right. It's really, really hard to get in. It's a very tight track, and so you always need a bit of luck unless you've got a real champion horse who can sit parked. And so as I was saying, quite often the ones that were sort of battlers to get into the final through having a softer run up the inside, but it's just the whole atmosphere of that place. And Mildura is such a supporter of harness racing, and it's great seeing all the races up there in Mildura. At the moment, lots of frequent racing, and it's a real sort of hub of harness racing enthusiasts, and it's like the centre of South Australia and Victoria in some ways. You can come from both directions, and plus the locals put it all together. Even the New South Wales guys who come across sometimes, from the places like Wagga and those sort of places. So it's a real sort of, bring all the states together and just have a good time and enjoy the racing.
And that's what we want to do. Where did your love of the trotter come from, Mark? Because I could be wrong, but I think that's all you own now. Where did your love of the trotter develop? Was there a set horse, or was there another reason?
Just trying to think. Yeah, so I've also got pacers. So I've got Helliver, of course. He's a pacer.
Oh yeah,
and I own Helliver's mother. She's in New Zealand. She's actually at Macca's Lodge, which I think you went to.
Yep.
And so I've got a weanling by American Ideal, would you believe? And that's pretty sad news that he's passed away. But I've got a weanling by him out of her, and I've got a pacer with Regan Todd, and she's a half sister to Helliver, and she's going really well. So I've got a horse called Creed up in Queensland. He's a pacer. He's a nice pacer. But I have, in terms of trotters, I actually like both of them equally, but I suppose, trotters, there's something about them, it's hard to get them going and so much frustration, but when they go well, it's just so satisfying to see a horse that's had a lot of problems. It's hard to get it going, and eventually it starts to go well, and it's just something about them. I do really enjoy them, but I've got McPherson Metro, and I think I told you, head them up in Queensland, and we got another little Southwind Frank from the Nutrien sale we bought, and she's going really, really well. But I like both of them equally, but I suppose the trotters, definitely there's something about them which is very appealing. And, so...
We might get onto those other horses, but McPherson Metro, he's a horse you purchased, I'm going to say 2 years ago. Would that be right? I know his first start was at Bendigo in the home field, so it would be a bit over 2 years ago that you purchased him?
I think August or September 2021.
Yep.
So not too long ago, or maybe 2020. I can't. Yeah, definitely the home field. So that was as a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
So now he's just turned 6. So it'll be 2 years and a bit. Yeah.
Did he win the home field? No.
Yeah.
He did.
Oh yes, he did. Yeah. He won the home field. Yeah.
It's interesting. Cam Kirkwood, he was actually working for Kath McIntosh, who was on there before as well, but he also does stuff with Harness Racing New Zealand. They actually bred him and his father.
That's right.
And they had a real love of him, and I remember they were wrapped when he saluted on that occasion. I think I was interviewing him 2 days later. And they were wrapped. And he's given you a brilliant ride, Mark. I mean, he's raced at the top level pretty much since then. He hasn't had too many easy races where he hasn't been, taking on the best horses. He's given you a great thrill, hasn't he, this horse?
Oh, it's a fantastic horse, and he's according to John, I don't go there all the time, but he's a pleasure to have around the place, and he just always gives his best. Yeah, but he ran second in the Great Southern Star last year at 150 to 1. And he ran second in the Inter Dominion, and he ran second in the Mary Mile, and He won the Breeders' Crown, the 4-year-old. He's been a really great horse. So in terms of earning money, like he's been very much an earner. So he only won one race last year, would you believe, and he earned 144,000 in stakes. So he's been a great earner. Yeah, last season, yeah, but he sat behind. Yes, I ran second to Just Believe in the Great Southern Star, and second to Just Believe in the Inter Dominion. So it makes you wonder if Just Believe wasn't there. Maybe we would have won both of those. I don't know, but maybe the race would have been run differently. You never know what would happen, but definitely, Just Believe is just such an awesome horse, and it's great to have him. But in some ways, it's been a real thorn in our side. It's just. Yeah, well, I'm glad he's there. He's just great for trotting to have such a champion horse as Just Believe. As I heard in Ballarat, apparently people were clapping him all the way up the straight.
Yep.
When he won that race, and the people come just to see him, and that's the sort of thing I think we need in harness racing. It's just great to see that. But as an owner, we always seem to see his backside. But yeah.
Is it an honour to run second to him or a frustration? And I think I know the answer, but I'd just be interested in your thought.
I don't get frustrated at all. I know. Let's say Greg's a really good guy, and Jess and that sort of stuff. I just
even all the owners, even though the owners are hard blokes to hate because they're such nice people. They're so humble about it, aren't they?
Yeah, they're really good people. That's right. We sat close to them up at with the Inter Dominion, and it's hard to hate them. Even though they're all celebrating, and we're sitting there with a little second flag. It's very hard to hate them. Hate them. They're genuinely good people, and they just love the harness racing like we do. I'm just happy to run second, although I would love to win. We're really trying to win, and that includes on Saturday as well. We definitely aren't going for second. It'd be great to beat him, but it's just such a champion horse. And whether we can, I don't know. We'll need a lot of luck, like most of the other horses. But definitely don't despise him in any way, or the owners, or the trainers, or the drivers. He's a great horse.
Mufasa Metro, I think for mine, the greatest attribute I see of this horse is he doesn't, not only does he give his all, but he gives you such a great sight because he's always posies up in those first couple, and then if he's not, even like last week where he's back, maybe one length further than you'd probably like, he still looms up. He always gives you a sight. I don't think I ever remember a race where he hasn't given you that sight, that sort of I'm here and I'm ready to race sort of thing, and I'm there. But as you say, Just Believe might go past him, but he still gives you a great sight and a great thrill, doesn't he?
Oh, he's so consistent. He's definitely always there with a chance. The race at Ballarat, I think he was just a bit impacted by coming back from Queensland, and then he came down. Then he had to sit in the death in the Maori Mile. He came second in that race. Yep. And that was a great run, but maybe just the combination of coming back from Queensland and then sitting in the death, and then he led. He had to work really hard in the track record time. And John was saying the track was very heavy at Ballarat that night on the inside. So John, sort of knowing he had all these other races to go into, didn't knock him about at all. But he ran 8th that night, which is the worst he's run for a long, long time. But if you go back through his form, it's all 2nd, 3rd, 4th with the occasional win. Yep. But he's just been so consistent. And the fact he can burn the gate and then he can stick on and then he can finish off as well, that's really a huge attribute to have. So he can do it both ends. And, so last year the only one who got past him was Just Believe. The rest of them all had their chance.
Yep.
In the Great Southern Star final. So it sort of shows what he's really all about. It's just you do it both ends, always gives his best. Just a great horse to have.
I just looked then to see what the race was. He won last year. It was the Scotch Notch Memorial. It's a nice race to win because she was a champion mare, of course, herself. So that was
she was a great horse. That's right. Yeah.
Do you look forward to the Great Southern Star? Do you enjoy the two, like being able to see your horse race twice in the one night?
Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah, I do enjoy it as long as the horse is all right. I was a bit worried about the horse, but then John Thomas, the way he works him is like that anyway. He has like 2 heats. Yep. And he usually runs better in the second heat. So So we were quietly confident he was going to put in a good run in the final last year. But then I look at the price, and it's 150 to 1. Like, no one was interested in him. So we were a bit surprised at that. But so, of course, we jumped on for the place and the win, whatever. But, yes, it turned out pretty well financially. But, yes, so very excited. This is a great race. Like, there's so many... It's just so hard to win. Like how fast do we go in the heat to be able to have enough in reserve for the final? You could easily burn your horse out in the heat and then look like $1 million, and then you're sort of jaded in the final.
Yep.
But it's just getting all that right. It's just it's so complicated. So you got the training to train the horse to be able to do that, and then you got the driving to be able to get things just right, so you won't burn your horse out, and you got plenty of horse in the final. But it's a great sort of challenge for the horse and driver and trainer and owner, sort of indirectly.
Yep.
But
and this year's event's got so many variables, if you like, Mark, as well. With it, you've got Call Me the Breeze, who was sensational. First up, I think it can't be undersold the effort of the team there to get that horse the way he was. You got horses like He's All Muscle in your race that great gate speed, goes terrific. Kiang Ignite, yourself, Majestuoso first up, for nearly 12 months, the best part of 11 months. One, how does he go in his first heat, and then how does he back up? I mean, even if he does make the final, what happens then? And then you get the second heat, and it's going to be a struggle for some of these horses to qualify. There is going to be a big name miss out. I don't know how you can say it any other way. There is definitely going to be a big name miss out, even if everything goes to plan, because there's so many variables in this next race. You've got a horse like Perfidious Sue that trotted 56.7 last start. It's a big ask. It's a big ask taking on these horses, but she trotted 56.7. If she trots that this week on the fence, she's going to have more behind her than in front of her, I think, anyway. I might be wrong.
Yeah, she's a great horse. That's right, a horse on the up, and you just don't know how good she is. There's a lot of horses on the up, and you just don't know how they're going to measure up. But quite a few of the King horses have been measuring up big time, like, the one that ran third in the third of Ballarat. That was a great run as well.
And the other horse, Chucky's a beautiful horse as well. So there's just
Keegang, Chucky, they're all so much ability. There's just incredible evenness across all of them, apart from Just Believe. I suppose you got your sort of ranking, like, you're probably Just Believe. Queen of the Leader's probably proven she's just below him, and Call Me the Breeze, given his record, he's around there somewhere. Then you got the I'm Ready, Jet with the Mufasa Metros, and you could almost rank them, but there's all these unknowns like RC Phoenix. How are they compared to these horses when he's run a 153 at Bendigo, and it's just such an intriguing sort of race. Like, it's like going back in time, you wouldn't have seen that many good horses in the one race sort of thing, or in a couple of heats. It's just so many good horses, and these horses are world class. Like, you look at Just Believe, he's probably in the top 5 or 10 in the world, like the guys are saying.
Yep.
And these horses aren't too far behind him, and they're sort of going with him and improving in trying to catch him all the time. Like, they're really high quality fields. So anyone that misses out is going to be sort of unlucky amongst all those really good horses for sure.
Yep. But
it's almost guaranteed to happen. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the numbers just say someone will miss out because it's on fastest times. There's going to be someone trying to give their horses softer run, and it's interesting to say about RC Phoenix. Does he go out and does Chris go out and make a statement, and then win in fast time to potentially get that better barrier draw? But there's, and I know Chris works his horses 2 and 3 heats. He's been to America. He loves it. Openly loves it. So. Yeah.
Yes.
And if he does run a 53, what does Just Believe do from that second line draw? Does Greg go all out to beat him, or does he try to just finish top 3? There's
he'd probably try to finish top 3, but then he could be the one that misses out. Like,
that's exactly you can drive too conservatively, run 4th. The other heat goes faster. There's so many. I think that's the one thing we've got to celebrate about this race. And I'm very jealous. I'm jealous of you and every other person that's got a runner in it. I think it's something I love the trotters, and I would love to have one. And it's on a great night. So I've hardly even touched on the Hunter Cup. There's a favourite horse of mine, Leap to Fame, who I think will just bolt in. But Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a celebration of what harness racing is about. It's a great night of racing. Mark, you said there before that you've got a couple of 3-year-olds. You've got Head 'em Up, a horse you recently purchased from New Zealand.
Yes.
He's a Group 1 winner himself in New Zealand. How's he travelling, and what are your main aims with him?
The Great Square is definitely one aim. That's why we sent him out to Queensland. I got all the derbies, bring him down for the derby, see how he goes. Like, just see how he comes up. Like, he found it pretty hard at first with the heat and everything else, coming from New Zealand, and suddenly he's up in Queensland, and it's a bit of a change for him. But it's all the derbies and all the big races, I suppose. Yeah, but really the Great Square, that was the one we're really looking at, on his home track.
Yep.
So it's actually Group 2 that he won. I think it wasn't the Group 1.
Okay, it was a size stakes. Yeah. It was a size stakes final.
It's size stakes. That's right. Yeah, it was a big run though. Like, he sort of did all the work, and he was favourite to win that big race, the 100k race as well.
Yep.
But we were actually very lucky to get him. We actually put an offer in before he won that big race, basically from his trial form. So I've got a guy across there, Peter Lagan, that looks after me all the time. And he said, that's a time try to find me a 2-year-old trotter, and he found this horse that did a real lot of things wrong in the trials, and eventually when he got everything right in the trial, he could go really well and won trials, and that's why we sort of put the offer in, and we were very lucky to get him. But so the purchase was subject to him being able to race in that one race that he won, the $40,000 Group 2. He's a really, really talented horse, obviously. I think I sent you a video. You can probably see him going around. He's a big horse. He's about 16 hands and huge long stride, and he's got a big motor. And so I think Sean's on the call here. He can probably tell you more about him even than I can. But
well, he is a lovely horse, and I saw him. You purchased him off Paul Nan.
Paul Nan, that's right.
Respected horseman, Habibti. Oh, I forgot the other horse, but he's had so many good trotters over the journey. Resolve
so many,
at the minute. Yeah. He's got a terrific team of trotters, and always has. The other one I did want to touch on, though, you were saying to me there about his name just escaped me. It'll come back to me in a minute. The yearling you purchased last year at the Nutrien Equine sale at the Sunshine Stars. You enjoyed the Sunshine Stars concept and being able to purchase a horse up there?
For sure, that's right. Yeah, so my wife was originally from Queensland. I think I told you this.
Yep.
So it's great to be able to have horses up there that we can go up and watch, and she can go and visit her sisters and hang out and have fun going shopping, whatever the girls do, and we can go and watch the trots with the kids and see our own horses going around. So that sale. I had a look this year. There's a lot of trotters this year. Like Queensland's are really supporting the trotters. So that's great to see. But that little filly, I'm really keen on the Southwind Franks.
Yep.
So I tried to buy a horse in New Zealand called Sandfly Bay, but she had a few issues, so that sale fell through or whatever. But it was this little filly we bought, and there's a couple of Southwind Franks for sale in Melbourne, not in Brisbane, but but they go really, really well. Beautiful trotters and great temperaments and just strong and whatever else, like Southwind Frank himself was. So buying from that sale, so basically, so we bought to have him her trained up in Queensland with the intention of going up there for holidays, and we can go and see our own horses go around.
And be able to bring it back. Will you be going to the Sunshine Star sale this year?
I won't be physically going, but definitely we've picked a few trotters out with Sean and myself, and I can't tell you which ones they are, but there's ones we really like. So we're definitely interested in getting one to see how we go.
I can tell anyone wondering there is 17 trotters in the sale. A Majestic Sona, 1 over Damoon, 3 Pastor Stevens, 3 Propulsions, 1 Sebastian K, 1 Up and Quick, 5 What the Hills, and 2 Wishing Stones. So there is plenty. It's not like they are horses that no one's ever heard of. They're world-class horses Pretty much
definitely.
Pretty much all of those. They're all world class horses. I'll probably be a bit cheeky and say One Over the Moon's not, because he was a Kiwi only horse, but the rest of them have got an international passport to their name.
That's right. Yeah, but even the Kiwi ones, you got Waterloo Sunset is a sire of Head 'em Up, and he's like a top horse. Yep. He's in the nominations for the Horse of the Year. Yep. So he's a New Zealand sire, and he's a great horse. So even New Zealand sires are pretty good as well. A bit like the colonial sires here.
Yep.
But,
No. I was just more the other guys have all got a European or a USA representation to their name. So
that's right. Yeah,
but that's fine. Mark, thank you. Good luck on Saturday night. Hopefully, mate, I'm going to be there doing some interviews. Hopefully I'm catching up with you after a heat win maybe, or even, we can dream that you beat the lot of them and win the final. I don't want to moz you and say I'll do an interview with you or anything like that, but
yes.
I think good luck to yourself, John Justice, and everyone. I think it'd be fair to say, I think John's really relishing this horse. We've all seen, I definitely saw him with Shaker Maker and Smoking Up and those sort of, Smoking Up, sorry, Shaker, Safe and Sound.
Yes.
There's possibly a little bit more pressure on him, and even Lennon, I think he was a lot younger and trying to make a name for himself. I think he's really embracing this horse. I think he enjoys it. He seems to smile, and he seems very happy to have an A-grade horse with potentially just that little bit of pressure off. To me,
he's got a great owner, of course. He's got a very laid-back owner, which helps.
Makes it so much easier, Mark. You're 100% right.
That does. You got these irate, sort of moody owners, and that's the last thing you want, But I've got a great respect for John as a trainer, as a driver. He's just an awesome guy to have a horse with, and he looks after the horse really well. So I'm really glad he's enjoying it. It's actually great for me to see him enjoying himself, and so he's got Eva coming through as well, and she's part of the action, and it's just great to see the Justice name, the John Justice, and Eva and Karsha and the team there. They're all re-emerging as a force. They've got some nice young horses there as well. It's really great. But John's definitely enjoying it. That's right. He's definitely laid back and maybe got something to do with his age as well. He just doesn't worry as much at that age, as you were saying.
He's only young, because if he's old, I'm old, so we don't go there. We'll just leave that. We'll leave that one well alone, and I'm not bringing you into the equation either, Mark. All right, we'll just leave it. We'll leave it as it is.
Keep the one quieter. I don't tell anyone.
No, we definitely won't. Mark, thank you for joining me. Good luck on Saturday night. As I said, from Campbell's comments point of view, I appreciate the interaction, because that is actually what grows this platform, and all I'm trying to do is get people to love harness racing like the gentleman before me, and that all came on, and Mark Hughes with Woodlands, they support me and put the message out there, and that's what I try to build this about. I want to get the message out there, and we want to give people a reason to barrack for Mufasa Metro. Once they listen to this interview, we might get, I don't care if they have $1 on or they don't, the industry probably does, but someone might barrack for you, and might be enough to push you over the line, Mark.
That's right. He ran second last year. He wasn't beaten by far, a couple of metres. So it's funny how the same horses always seem to perform well in certain races. So you got I'm Ready Jet has run third 2 years in a row.
Yep.
And then you got Mufasa Metro ran second last year. So some horses are sort of, they're sort of suited to that style of race, the 2 races in one night. So I wouldn't be surprised if I'm Ready Jet puts in a bottler as well. We're definitely trying to win, that's for sure. So we just need luck.
I had Anton on last night, and he's dead set scratching his head, but you never know, like what you said then, she's been in this race series before, so she knows what it's like.
Anton, what I was thinking when he was saying that was races against horses with Just Believe and Queen Leader up in Brisbane and Mufasa Metro, and then suddenly they all come back and he's racing against them. I mean, you can't, so maybe she's sort of ranked somewhere in the ranking order.
Yep.
One thing I know for sure is that she really backs up well with the 2 runs in a one night, so I wouldn't be discounting her either. But definitely Mufasa backs up very well as well. So anyway, so that's the inside all I can give you.
No,
But,
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. David Brick's watching from Queensland, so we want to make sure people are aware that the Nutrien Equine Sunshine Stars, February 10 and 11, scrolling across the bottom. I mustn't have any spelling mistakes. I always worry about my spelling sometimes because I do spell things right. I hopefully spelt your name right too, Mark, but that's okay. I do those things.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about that.
Mark, thank you. Good luck on Saturday night. And as I said, thank you to everything you do with Campbell's Comments, mate. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, it's a really great show and really enjoyed listening to it. But yeah, it's great to see the harness community getting together and communicating, which is one thing which is sort of lacking a bit, I think, the whole communication. Yeah, so it's great. It's a great show.
I don't take myself too seriously. I want to do that, though. I want to get people talking about our industry and embracing it and going from there. So, no, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, mate.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Okay. See you later, Paul. Thanks.
There we have Mark Gurry, and yeah, I really appreciate his input, as I do so many of the other guests that come on at short notice or long notice, so I do appreciate it. Righto, Saturday night, big night of racing. Of course, it is a great Southern Star. The first heat is at 6:25, and the second of those is at 7:05. The 4-year-old Bonanza is race 5, 8:15. You've got the Hunter Cup at 9:15, the Pure Stool at 9:15, and then at 9:43 you'll have the Great Southern Star. So it's going to be a great 4 or 5 hours. Seriously, Alex, you had to turn around and do that one to me right now. I've had that ticker going across for so long, and then finally someone comes up with that one. So, and that is one of my fatal mistakes. And that's how easy it would have been for me to fix, Alex. You only had to tell me the once, but it's all done now, and it all is all there. But I do really appreciate it, Alex. I appreciate your input as well, and everyone else. Good luck to everyone who's got big runners over the Saturday night. It's a huge night of racing. I'll be back next Wednesday. Could be back from Queensland, actually. We might be live somewhere in Queensland, David Brick. If you're watching, Darren Clayton and myself, we might be at Albion Park if the buggy and I can get there in time. So we could be live from Queensland, Albion Park next Wednesday. And then the Sunshine Stars, of course, on the weekend of the 10th and the 11th. But, yep, good luck to everyone racing on this weekend. Huge weekend of racing. And, yep, let's keep enjoying the harness racing and keep promoting the game. So thank you very much, Scotty Purdon. More than welcome, mate. You weren't late. You're only 5 minutes, and you did a very good job, so don't stress. Yep, thank you. See you all next week.